Hello from the Copy studio in Geneva. We are back with a technical analysis with Bruno Estier. Welcome to the studio, Mr. Estier.
Good morning, Daniel.
So last time we were already waiting for the US equity markets to break out. So did this finally happen?
Well, let's look at the daily charts. If we see here what's happening, we were waiting for this red line to be broken up. That happened last week. But usually when you have a break out of a triangle, it's a period of consolidation, and the break up is followed by an acceleration up. And that's not exactly what happened. In fact, it consolidated immediately after the break up, and yesterday it broke down. So it's so-called failure. And it opens a lot of anxiety in the market short term. We see that this decline of the equity market occurred at the same time as there was a decline in yields. So it's probably a switch from stocks into bonds.
Okay, so this will lead to a switch in an allocation into bonds, do you think?
Probably it's just a technical adjustment short term for the month's end. As we see here already on the long-term charts of the yield, we had broken already the long-term descending trend line, and the trend is up for interest rates. So we are just approaching the bottom of the range. And so it's not going to be a permanent switch into bonds.
So how high is the risk for the S&P 500 in the medium term?
Well, short term there is nothing which is confirmed, because the little decline that we got yesterday is just within still our rising wedge and still above the support trend line at 2085, which is down there. Of course, the momentum seems to turn, but it has turned before in the past without breaking the big support trend line. So really we are waiting for confirmation. On a weekly close basis, we would like to be below 2085. If we are not, then we are going to lean on the fact that the uptrend still remains even for the US market.
Is this tendency already impacting other markets?
Well, it's exactly not already impacting. In fact, Japanese market is still on the way up. It's making new highs, and the relative strength is making new highs. So here we have a rising momentum, on the contrary to the US market.
And if we look to China?
And China was within a consolidation. Yesterday it opened very high with almost a new high, and then pulled back only a little. So China and Japan really are still on a momentum up. That's no big worry there.
And if we look to India, what's the situation there?
India, we mentioned in the past, it was a bit weaker than China. Of course, it just met a resistance trend line, and it opened down a little bit deeper with a bigger gap. But so far, it's not dramatic.
So in sum, we could now say that the emerging markets do not really seem to be impacted by this move from the US.
It seems to be an impression. However, we need to look at some of the markets. If we go further from China into Russia, for example, we see that the uptrend of Russia still remains, but there was a correction on a weekly basis, and we see it remains above the long-term moving average. So it has an impact. However, if we look at Brazil, we see that the correction already started before yesterday and then accelerated yesterday, with already reaching 50% of the whole rise up. So here it's difficult to really speak about an uptrend. On the other, also we have relative strength of Brazil going down versus emerging markets. So the China and India are doing better than Brazil, of course, and also it's going down versus the S&P 500. So this Brazil market is probably not in an uptrend anymore.
Thank you. And finally, if we look to the European markets, how is it?
European market was the one that we liked because our relative strength was moving up. Now it's already 4 or 5 weeks that it's kind of stable. And we see here we are in between an area, right? We were trying to move up to 37 area, then it's back to 3600, and momentum is turning down. It's not yet fully dramatic.
Bruno, is there a risk to break the support?
as we see here, we are at 3,600, and this is about 100 points above the 3,500. And this 3,500 blue line is the big descending trend line that we have already broken and gave a bullish signals. So here we are not yet in a dramatic situation. We hope that it will rebound from here. So it's really boiled down to what's going to happen in the US market. The other markets are not yet really impacted. If the US market is starting a big correction down, of course it will impact the other markets, but yet it's still open.
Thank you very much, Mr. Bruno Estier, for this overview of global markets.
You're welcome.
Thank you. And thanks for watching. Do make sure to keep clicking back on the Dukascopy TV website for latest updates and exclusive interviews. Have a great day and see you next time.